Welcome everybody to Service Driver Revolution and our international truck coronavirus update. We have an exciting show for you today. We have a special guest, Mark Ryder, which I'm excited that we're going to ask him some questions. Jeremy and Adam are also here, and I feel like we probably could have prevented the toilet paper crisis if our turns would have been better. And I feel like going forward, I'm curious to hear what Mark has to say about how we can affect the nation, the world in a positive way through our service departments and our efficiencies and systems, and really make a difference and come out of this different than we went in. Welcome everybody to the show. Jeremy, Adam.
Hey, Chris.
No Adam. Mark.
I'm here.
Hey. Good afternoon, everyone.
What episode is this? It's like 10, right?
Oh,
It's
hey.
10.
Oh, if it would have been 10, we could have had a cake.
Where's
We
the
need
cake?
candles. Maybe we'll celebrate 11.
I don't
okay.
like cake. I'll take ice cream though.
So, Mark, I don't know if you've seen our previous episodes, but we always talk about books that we're reading, and during the lockdown, although the lockdown's kind of going away, we were trying to read a book a week. And so let's kind of start off with what books we're reading, and then we'll pose some questions. So what are you reading, Jeremy? You can go first.
Well, I am reading Humor That Works. It's a book by Andrew Tarvin. He did your training at your consulting call last week, was it? Or no, week before last week. But I've been told my sense of humor is a little dry. That is an observation I have about myself. So,
What have you learned from the book that's going to help you with that?
well, I haven't learned that much yet. But
Oddly, he's dry also, isn't he?
yeah, it's incredibly. I think he's hilarious. But
So
I
you
mean,
just got
that's just me.
drier.
He does a lot of puns too. I want to do more puns, but I think that honestly, humor is a big part of conveying your message. I'm never going to be an autocratic speaker. That's just not my style. But I want to really kind of analyze a little bit about how to use humor when you're doing, whether you're doing a visit with a dealership or if you're doing a speech or a training or whatever like that. I'd like to really understand kind of the guts of humor a little bit more from a workplace perspective, because I think that's a really good way to communicate with people. And it eases tension. I mean, my jokes aren't great, but I can say that it really eases it eases everyone into our service advisor trainings and our manager trainings when I crack a couple of my dumb jokes. So I really kind of want to tap into that a little bit more, while at the same time not taking away from the message, which is another part of the book, is you don't want to distract from your message with humor. So I kind of want to just dig into that a little bit more, and I think this book is really good for it. I'm only about halfway through it, but I like it so far.
But really more, your style is less humor and it's more self-deprecating. It's like the sympathy play, right? You want them to feel sorry for you?
I don't really want them to feel sorry for me. I would say that I self-deprecate a little bit because I'm just such an amazing person. I want to take away from that a little bit. I don't want anybody to be intimidated by me.
Good afternoon. Hey, Jeremy. You know what? I'm sorry. I thought I was hacking an episode of SDR, not Hoarders.
Oh, thank you. This is a simulated background. This isn't really my basement, which is full of clothes. But see, that's why I don't have to self-deprecate too much. I've always got Christian around. But yeah, definitely reading that book and trying to understand humor in presentations.
Did you know that during this we hired Andrew to coach our coaches, and they did stand-up? Like, he coached them, and then they did stand-up one Friday morning for everybody in the company on Zoom, by the way. But it was hilarious. I couldn't believe too that some of the coaches that you think were more introverted actually did stand-up. It was amazing. They did 3 minutes of stand-up.
Did you do any?
I didn't. I should have.
You didn't?
Come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had two things. You know what messed me up is I was going to do it, and then that week was the week I was taking my interrogation training, my police interrogation training, and it became too much. It was too much to try to write jokes and follow what he was doing, and the interrogation training, and I had to focus on the interrogation training because it was a real class, and I wanted to, pass and get my certificate, which I did. But I regret that they lined up like that. But he's amazing. He's working with Christian too a little bit, but he's amazing.
He definitely needs to work with Christian.
My book is Limitless by Jim Kwik, and Kwik is spelled Kwik. Limitless by Jim Kwik, and I saw this article in my news feed about Elon Musk from Tesla having a personal brain coach. And I was like, what? And then I looked up the guy's name who was like his brain coach, and it was this guy, and he wrote a book. And so it's pretty interesting. He talks about how your brain works. He talks about how to train your brain, how to exercise your brain, how to increase your memory. And then I'm getting to the point where he's talking about speed reading, which, has any of you guys tried speed reading?
I have a problem just regular reading, let alone speed reading.
That's how I feel. Like, I enjoy reading, but I have to really apply myself. I can't imagine skipping over words or however it works, but I'm going to try when I get to that part. But it's a really good book. It's fascinating. What's yours, Adam?
Cool.
My next?
Yeah,
Yes.
What's yours?
Oh, sorry. So my book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I know I'm kind of always in the books about self-development, but this one kind of came up on my feed as a suggestion for like Amazon and stuff of that nature. And what I really do like about this, I think the biggest thing when we talk about systems or how it relates to our service manager training, our service advisor training, and even for our group or for our team that go into service locations, we always talk about systems, right? And having processes in place. And I like how, James breaks it down. And one thing that really sticks with me is I think when we talk about habits, and when he talks about the atomic habit, when you think of, molecules and how, atoms are built up and everything just leads into their focus on small habits, increasing just by 1%. So I think what's interesting enough when we shoot for these goals, and they seem to be overall arching, just focusing on some of these small habits, whether it's just, daily things in your life or whether it's at work. So it kind of makes me think a little bit, or take a extra few minutes to think about some of my habits that I do, whether it's getting ready for work, a little bit extra, previously always talking about 10X and having more and more action, but also making sure they're the right actions, right? So when we think about, working with our service locations, let's not try to overall arching boil the ocean, but let's focus on some smaller habits. And it really kind of just resonated with me. Just started the book on Sunday, but I think some of these breakthroughs, trying to focus on getting rid of the bad habits, but also it's changing the attitude and even how you speak. So one of the things is he leverages, about smoking. One person will say, I'm trying to quit smoking. And they go to, after someone offers them a cigarette. Well, he says, well, that person really is not really trying to change a habit. If I'm really trying to change a habit, they'll just say, I used to be a smoker. I don't smoke. Kind of just a little bit of psychology to that type of nature. So, I kind of think of when we're trying to leverage in some of these processes and going to be better, and we're working with our customers, of that nature, really small habits and how we interact from a psychological point of view or from our actual actions, I think will hit huge moving forward to this next milestone of everything that we try to do. So I'm really looking forward to finishing this book. But yeah, so if you guys get a chance, if you haven't already, Atomic Habits, James Clear is a good book.
That's awesome.
How about you, Mark? What have you read recently?
Well, I always have two books going at the same time. One is purely some work of fiction. I like science fiction, murder mysteries, some of things like that. And in that vein, I'm reading a series called The Expanse. It's a science fiction novel. It's an Amazon Prime show. It's really good if you like that. If you like that kind of stuff, from a development book or a business book, I guess you'd say. I'm rereading one that I read a long time ago. I actually have it with me. I don't know if I can see it. It's called Corporate Tragedy, written by a woman named Barbara Marsh, and this is chronicling the International Harvester Company back in the 80s and their evolution from International Harvester into Navistar, and a lot of things that the company did wrong back at that time and how they almost didn't survive, right? And I do think it's almost a history book, right? That tells you, if you don't learn from the mistakes of your past and the things that you've done wrong, you could, everybody's always doomed to repeat those. That's obviously a truism that folks have talked about. This book is actually out of print. You can get it from the Super Scout store. They do reprints. It's like $25. I have a stack of them at my desk that I always, when I'm always lending out, especially when we have new employees join the company, I said, you should probably read this book because we have a really long history as a company. And I'd encourage anybody who's watching this and has an interest in the international brand. It's an easy read. It's a short read, but it's really some fascinating history about the International Harvester Company and how we became Navistar.
I'm gonna order that. What is Super Scout a website?
Yeah, Super Scouts, they actually trade in a lot of like collectible stuff relates to the international tractors.
Maybe you couldn't hear me. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, are you Chris number 2 or 3?
I
see everybody on this screen is named Chris.
13. Yeah, I got a question
13?
for you really quickly.
Yeah.
How come skeletons never get in fights with each other?
I don't know. Why don't? Why don't they?
They don't have the guts.
Okay, Mark. Let me. What are your thoughts now that things are opening up? How do you think that we come out of this stronger as a dealer body and as an industry?
So it's perfect timing. We're already seeing signs in terms of the results that we're getting, whether they're industry results or Navistar results, that things are starting to open up. I know a lot of states are changing their guidelines. Of course, as an essential business, we were never truly on shutdown, right? We had to keep all of the goods and services, flowing. I know before you'll probably put the blooper reel on and talk about the toilet paper stuff at the beginning, but that's the joke, right? We had to have toilet paper and hand sanitizer in the stores, and obviously our trucks are part of getting those there. But now certainly as things are opening up, it creates a whole realm of opportunities for our dealerships, and that's why I'm so excited about when I was able to. I know we'll talk about this later too. The classes that we're doing, the video classes, and as I sat and had a chance to listen into those, really excited that all the emphasis that you had on growing the business, growing your retail sales, using service to do that. It's just so crucial to do that, especially now, as people are, they're starting up vehicles that maybe haven't run for a while. There's going to be service opportunities there. I had a Friedrich Baumann, who's my boss. He's the president of after sales for Navistar. He spent the last 9 weeks in Portland, Oregon. That's where he sheltered in place. He flew back to Chicago, and his BMW had been sitting there for 9 weeks. And so he was trying to arrange to get the service taken care of because he knew his car wasn't going to start. And the same thing is true of if you have school buses in your AOR. You've got opportunities to get with those school bus folks. Just think about this: by the time you get to the end of the summer, and if a school is going back into school, those buses will have been idle for 4 or 5 months, and there's going to be lots of service opportunities. You just have to get out there and have the relationships to take advantage of those.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's very crucial. So if you had to say, when we're getting into there and planning some of that stuff, Mark, from a customer experience, and when we talk about service related opportunities, what should we do to get, to be better and get to that next level?
Big part of what there's a simple philosophy that I've always just thought about in business is just make it easy to do business with your company, right? Take the burden of work off of the people that you're doing business with. Then you don't have to be the cheapest. You don't have to be you be better in some ways, but if you're making it easier, you can really win in the marketplace. Just think about Amazon, right? I know we've used this example a lot, but I buy stuff on Amazon all the time. I have no idea whether it's the cheapest. I just know that in 1 or 2 days it's going to be at my house, and I don't have to worry about it. And that's the simplest, most personal example I can have of making it easy. My wife even has these little buttons shaped like with pictures of detergent on there. You stick it in the cabinet, and when you're running out of detergent, she pushes the button. 2 days later, Amazon's delivered more detergent to our house. I mean, there's examples of that you can make it easy to do business with your customers in your areas. You just have to find those.
We hear a lot of examples of dealers that are already adjusting to the way things are. Like they're picking up a lot more vehicles, dropping off a lot more vehicles. They're doing. They have designated write-up areas where all you have to do is text the dealership and the writer will come up to you. Cleaning services, all that stuff. So I've been impressed with the amount of dealers that are really adjusting to the way things are going to be into the future.
I think that's important too, because you see it in auto, you see it in the automotive side. They're advertising, this being really visible with how we're taking care of the inside of vehicles and with cleaning equipment and those types of things are really, really, really important. I had my oil changed I drive a Subaru. I had my oil changed a couple of weeks ago, and in the middle of all this, and they did all of this contactless drop off. The driver's lounge or the waiting area was staged differently. Those are, and we don't have to invent this stuff. People are doing this activity. We just need to be observant and take those best practices and apply them to our businesses.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how people, when they're kind of backed into a corner, think of, new ways, additional ways to do things, right? I think, like you just said, you don't really have to think outside the box, that stuff. It's always been there. They just start applying it. And now it's kind of the new norm as far as doing business, an extra cleaning type service. I noticed I did the same thing. I had my truck in for an oil change about a month ago, and just getting into it, I was not asking for it, not really expecting much. And it was almost like a little detail, a little desanitization kind of thing. And those additional extra services will help improve the customer experience, or at least put something at ease for our drivers, right? When they get into to haul that next load or whatever. I think that's really crucial.
Yep, I agree.
Cool.
Yeah, how much do you guys think it comes down to what we need to focus on in the future is our systems? Like, it feels like in a lot of ways the industry is changing, but our systems are what we were doing, 30, 40 years ago, kind of in the same way.
I think it needs to be, and it should have always been, but it needs to be based around the customer as much as possible. Like, a lot of the things that you teach, Chris, and a lot of the things that we reinforce, they aren't new things. It's stuff that's been around for a long time. But we're focusing your dealership, we're focusing your processes around what does the customer need from me right now? What do I need to do, and what the future is going to look like? And that's really the way we need to look at things.
I think it's embracing the changes, right? In technology, we talk about leveraging, like we did last week, the i360, and leveraging a lot of those different key items that we can, and changing some of the processes. But really, I think we were talking about this not too long ago. Like, is it going to be enough? Is it truly going to be enough? It's going to be kind of interesting. Is it going to be enough when we start walking and looking through these, what more, so we can be ahead of the curve and any sort of, aspect? That's what's just interesting, I guess, to me. I've noticed that personally with doing some of these videos, right? I've done a lot more reading, a lot more just kind of interesting, and trying to think of being on that somewhat leading edge, and we talk about sharpening those tools. Is it going to be just enough? We don't need some sort of a wake-up call or some, in every respect, but how do we get to where we are always in some sort of prepared and always having these tools to be sharpened and being the leading edge in the marketplace or in the industry?
Yeah, there's certainly going to be a lot of systems changes that are coming down the pipeline. We're going to do i360's one where there's more integrations that need to be done with different dealer business systems. But I just think that there's so much opportunity out there with the systems that we do have. There's so much, I use this phrase all the time. I probably used it already on this video, is there's so much low hanging fruit out there. I remember when we launched on the parts side of international, this commercial acceleration program, we called it. And we go through this activity, and it's all these different things about how you call on customers and how you prospect leads and how you do follow-up and how you answer calls and how you know, a lot of the same stuff that I know we talk about here in these activities on the service side. And I was sitting next to a dealer principal, and after the end of one of the sessions, they looked at me and they said, well, this is just like parts sales 101. And I'm like, exactly. Parts sales 101. That's really, we need to get, master and pass parts sales or service advisor, service manager 101. Then we'll go to 201 and 301, but I don't think we're all at 101 yet. There's a lot of opportunity for us all to get better. And that's the company as well as individual dealership location.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair because we sometimes have turnover, right? Focusing on those core businesses and core items, to really kind of accelerate.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that happened to me, Mark, early on in my career is I would go around and fix service departments, and I've tried to count, but I know I've fixed over 500 service departments since I started when I was 24. But when I would go in, I would get in these weird debates with people, and I learned very quickly that it was a mistake because I would tell the leadership that the most important thing was systems, and then they would counter with, no, the most important thing is people. And I would say, no, it's systems, because I knew it was systems. And the thing that I learned over time was the answer to that is systems come first. It's not that one's more important than the other, but the thing that I do know is that if you have amazing people and you put them in bad systems, they will underperform. But if you have average people and you put them in a good system, they'll perform above average. And to me, a system is a feedback loop. So you have a process, right, where a truck comes into the process, and then it's a feedback loop of then the outcome is this. So we had this opportunity, and what we did with this opportunity, this was the outcome. And then in order for that system or that feedback loop to work, it's got to constantly improve. Because I think one thing that we don't think about as much that is very true to just human nature, and not to get super deep, but like we start off as cells, right? And then cells duplicate and we grow inside our mother's womb, and then we're born and we're growing and we're growing and we're always progressing and getting better, right? It's just how nature is. Everything is about progress. It's about growing knowledge, getting better. And I think that what happens in our industry is we get complacent because we get this mindset of we want things to be the same and not change. And I think what's really a blessing about this COVID thing, if you could find one in it, is that we have a chance to reset and think about our systems and think about our feedback loops. And are we progressing? This is a chance for us to really gain market share and jump ahead of everybody else. But it all starts with our mindset and our approach. Are we constantly getting better? Is our feedback loop growing and improving, or are we sitting just trying to protect our real estate and hold back? If that makes sense.
No, I agree with you. I think when you first asked the question about systems, I immediately was thinking IT, information technology, computer systems, and that's why I kind of answered the way I did. One of the reasons that I was thinking about, because, ultimately you can't, although new systems are computer systems might be needed, a lot of folks in this who are watching this don't have any ability to influence what happens there. But what you just described is absolutely right? You know, the way the processes that we're following, that's the word I think about. The
You know, in
processes.
Canada, they say process.
Yeah, that's absolutely the right time. And I will tell you one other thing that, you know, you talk about resetting coming out of COVID. The world that we knew it, the world as we knew it, is not coming back. It will never be like that again. I don't know exactly what it's going to be like in the future, but we have a real opportunity as a company and a network to create something different that can win. And that's what we really got to be focused on. And I don't know where that's heading, but that's why I'm excited to see, you know, some of the things that we're working on here, because, you know, you get the people that are motivated enough to invest their time in these activities and learn from each other and grab those best practices and take them back and develop them and take them back to their dealership. Those are the ones who are going to win. And I'm excited to see it happen.
Yeah, and from the outside looking in, you have a great team, and the culture at International, and how much it's about the actual getting things done and the right thing and the solution over just corporate strategy and agendas is so refreshing, because I've done stuff with other manufacturers, and it's mind numbing how much they get caught in politics. And you guys you want to fix it, and you want to see it from the perspective of the dealers and the service managers and the shop foremen and the advisors. And there's so much empathy and really caring about people and the actual outcome, and not wanting to be right, that is so refreshing. I haven't met anybody on your team that just wants to be right to be right. They want to win, and they listen, and they ask good questions. And it's, you guys are poised to really gain market share going forward, I think, just because of your mindset and the culture.
Chris, I've got a question.
What's that, Christian?
What do you call a cow with a twitch?
Twitter?
Beef jerky.
That's funny.
I'm going to repeat these jokes to my son. I want to see
your son will love them.
They land.
Hey, I appreciate the feedback you just gave us, Chris, as we're thinking about that. I give a lot of credit to our leadership team. You know, we've really put a strategy in place where we try to put the customer in the center of everything that we do. And, and if you do everything, if you focus your actions on the customer, the rest of the things, revenue, profits, those will come. But first thing you have to do is take care of and make sure you're doing the right thing with customers. And the other thing I would say is, and I give our leadership team a lot of credit, is, the way we're trying to partner with our dealers in a way that we've never done that in the past. In my 20 years at Navistar, really trying to turn it into a collaborative relationship where we solicit feedback. We're doing things together instead of doing things to each other. We're doing things with each other. I haven't seen anything like this in my time at Navistar, and I think it's going to feed and enable us to take advantage of these market conditions that you were just talking about.
Yeah, I've told Adam and Jeremy several times that it's very special. Like, I think you guys are going to look back on this time and see there's a turn that's happening. And I'm from the outside looking in, so I have a fresh set of eyes, right? Sometimes I say, you can't read the label of the jar you're in. And so just from the outside, you guys are working hard, and you're doing the best you can do. But I just want to give you the feedback that it is really special, and it is making a difference. And it's rare to interact with the manufacturer that doesn't just want to be right, instead of really listening and trying to offer solutions. And it's fun. It's fun to be a part of, and rare, very rare. But I don't know what everybody's background is or whatever other companies they've worked for, but the boys here, Adam and Jeremy, really do care, and it's fun. It's fun to be a part of that. I know my team feels the same way also, but it's great. So make it easy to do business and take the burden off the customer. That's what I wrote down. I love that.
Yep.
I mean, that kind of says it in a nutshell, really.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's definitely the approach that we've taken, and I think that's definitely going to set us apart as far as differentiating from others, right?
Yeah, and then just pile your laundry in the basement.
Yeah.
Right, Jeremy?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll deal with it later. Right now it's good background. It's good scenery, It's kind of
Yeah.
like Lifestyles in the Rich is Famous, only it's Lifestyles in West Side of Joliet. So
That's awesome. That's fun. Anything else you want to add, Mark, in closing?
No, I appreciate, like I said, I was able to watch some of the one of the virtual classes that I think we hosted, and in a weird way, I think those are almost more effective than the traditional. Everybody fly to a city, go to a hotel, sit in a conference room, eat too much food, drink too much alcohol at night, and then be late to the next session and the next day. These I thought were hard hitting, impactful. Using the breakout rooms, I think, was really useful. You could still get those small groups, participating and working together, and you're able to go through those really practical examples of how to just improve the financials in your service department, and they all involve the customer, which I was glad to see as well. So we may not go back to the other. This may be the wave of the future, or some modified version. I'm glad to see you guys continuing all this. I love the videos. I'm glad to actually be on one. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on. We've learned a lot by this lockdown. Like I would have never imagined that the online classes could go as well as they have. It was kind of scary, but we've adapted, and everybody's done a good job. It's been fun.
There's got to be a silver lining in all of this mess, that's for sure.
I mean, I know my team would enjoy not as much travel. Airports and all that. It's good. Awesome. Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Jeremy and Adam. Good job, you guys. And
Thank you.
We'll try to have
Absolutely.
a cake next time for episode 11.
Are there any more jokes, or is Christian done? Is he used up?
Christian, you have any more jokes? He might have gone to dinner.
No, it's interesting, but I'm up in Massachusetts. There's a lot of animals and stuff up there, and I happened to look out outside my hotel room here, and I saw a skunk flying. You know what they call that up here?
What?
what?
A stink bomb.
You know what you might want to do there, Christian, is get a Tom Brady jersey.
Yeah,
He's real popular.
I'm with one of the other coaches, and she keeps wearing a New Orleans Saints shirt, and I don't know why they're looking at her funny, but yeah, I think the Brady jersey would be perfect timing.
But the Tampa one, a Tampa Bay one. It's good. Cool. Thanks, gentlemen. I'll see you again soon. Thanks,
everybody.
Mark.
Bye.
See you guys next time. Bye.